Hello and good morning to you all. It might be evening for those who are going to watch the replay, but it's a great pleasure for me to come on air again to talk about Father's Day. Very special event coming up on Sunday, the 17th of June. So it's Father's Day. My name is Pauline Lehman. I'm the founder of Star Richards Community Initiative, a charity with a mission to raise aspirations for young Black people and break the cycle of Black people underachievement in education, as well as promote the well-being of children and families. And I strongly believe that parenting is the bedrock. It's the foundation for everything else that happens within the lives of a child and the family as a whole. So today we're going to be discussing Father's Day, and I've got with me a great father. I've known him for donkey years, and I have seen him raise up amazing boys. He's a father of 2 boys. So I've got with me today Femi Adeyemi. He's a barrister. He's an entrepreneur. He runs several businesses. He's a very busy man. He's a husband, and he is a father of 2 lovely boys, as I said before. So welcome, Femi, to the show. I hope you don't mind me calling you Femi today.
Oh, please. I was trying to test in my head, Pauline, and sister.
I know sometimes it doesn't click when we're used to saying both the Femi and Sister Pauline.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's Femi. Thank you very much for accepting to come to my show. We've spoken about what we're going to be talking about here today a very long time ago, because I've just watched him how he interacts with his children, with his boys, and I've said, you know, we need to have fathers, role models here who can talk and encourage other fathers on how to raise great boys. Because when we look at statistics in society, you know, we hear about absentee fathers, we hear about lots of families, you know, lots of single mothers raising children, fathers are absent, or even when the fathers are actually present, they're actually not involved in the lives of their children. And then we have the statistics linked to that. Boys getting into dysfunctional or antisocial behavior, you know, children being removed from families, you know, due to lack of parental or fatherly involvement. And it just goes on and on today. So we're going to be talking today about the role of a father in the family. And I'm going to ask Femi to share with us his experience. If you have questions, please share this video. I know it's going to bless a father out there. It is a big problem within the community where we don't actually see fathers getting involved. So Femi, it's Father's Day on Sunday. Yes. What does Father's Day mean to you?
Father's Day as a concept is relatively new to those of us, or let me say some of us, who maybe who were born in Africa and raised in Africa. It was more of Mother's Day.
Yes, that's right.
That was in churches and everywhere. Mother's Day is celebrated. And Father's Day, in that sense, is a newer concept, because this generation of fathers, a lot of us, or many of us, have seen the mistakes of our fathers, a situation where they saw their role in the house as breadwinners and full stop. My job is to bring the money, and don't come and talk to me. I've worked out today, I want rest. Children are meant to be seen and not heard. You know, if you want to talk about your problems, talk to your mother. My job is just to pay your school fees. And as long as I've done that, I've done my duty. But in this generation, we're taking it a step further. You know, my father, when you hear the horn of his car, we all scurry around and make sure everywhere is tidy, so that you don't get told off or even spanked. My time, we got spanked properly, and there was no law against it. There was no consequence. So our relationship with our fathers in my generation was that of the rule maker and the breadwinner who was not to be questioned or spoken to. If you want to talk, you talk to your mother. But in this generation, we're going further to say we're not just breadwinners. We are actually your example. There's this old saying in my part of the world where I come from that says, your mother is like gold. She's your treasure, and your father is like your mirror. Your father reflects back to you your proclivities, your tendencies, you're just looking at yourself in a few years' time. So if you like what you see, you know what to copy. If you don't like certain aspects, you know what to begin to amend and change.
But let me just interrupt you there. You've said something that's really crucial, and from what you've said, I pick up the aspect of intentionality.
Yes.
So you're talking about reflecting back on how our parents parented us.
Yes.
And how we can take the good aspects of that and add on some newer aspects to help us become better fathers.
Yes.
However, the big problem that we see within the community is that a lot of men that have come from, that were raised in Africa and have come here still want to parent their children the way they were parented. They still see themselves solely as a breadwinner, and they aren't actually involved. That is a big problem. So you kind of went ahead there, because that was the next thing I wanted to get into, where the father and the mother go to work. They come back home, the father sits down in the sitting room, either on PC watching TV,
Yes.
and the mother is doing all the work. She's had a long day at work, and she's working hard, but you have, turned it around. You've chosen the good aspects of, parenting in Africa, of being a father in Africa, and added in, and I think that is an aspect of intentionality. Now, in your opinion, you have witnessed lots of families within the community. What are the typical problems within the African community in terms of the fatherly role?
Okay. Now, this might sound slightly controversial, but I'm quite confident about it. One of the major problems is the way we interpret culture.
Okay.
Some people believe, I'm from Cameroon, I'm from Sierra Leone, I'm from Nigeria, and this is how we do things where I come from. Mm-hmm. If it was good enough for my parents, it's good enough for me. Mm-hmm. Now, that's, I think, is wrong, and I'll tell you why. Culture is not static. Culture, I actually studied a bit of anthropology in my study of law. Okay. I took a course in anthropology, and I took some courses in psychology and sociology, and it helped me to understand that culture is never static. Mm-hmm. Culture is the response of any group or community of people, their response to their socio-economic and geographical circumstance. So your dressing is not special where you come from. The reason they dress the way they dress is as a response to the weather where they come from. It's not because there's a superior morality anywhere that makes you dress better. It's just you dress in accordance to the weather. So just look across the world. Wherever the weather is very cold, the women would wear trousers. They would wear all sorts. Even the men will wear things that look like dresses. Whatever will cover you and protect you from the weather is what you wear. So your dressing has more to do with the weather. The way you arrange family and the way you work, who does what and who stays at home is a function of how much access you have to resources.
Okay.
If you're in the riverine areas, the men will go fishing while the women will sell the fish. So the women literally make the money because they will change the fish to cash. So the women actually bring the money home. The men will go fishing, hand it over to the wives, and the wives will go and sell it and bring up the money. So if you actually ask who's the breadwinner, technically it's the woman. Even though the man goes out there to fish, but the fish is not going to turn to money without somebody taking it to the market. Mm-hmm. So, but it depends on your environment. So if you then take the culture of a Nigerian, or there's actually no Nigerian culture in that sense, there are so many tribes in Nigeria. Mm-hmm. So take one culture from one tribe in Nigeria, for instance, and you try to superimpose it on a family in England, it's not going to work well. Because the environment is totally different. Everything is different. You need to adapt it a bit. So, if we were to live in Nigeria, I would never have to carry my babies.
Yes,
Men don't.
Because you have
there are so many servants, there are nannies, grandmas, aunties. There will be loads of cousins living with you who would, take care of the children and everything.
And the household responsibilities.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would never have to do dishes. I would never have to worry my head about so many things. It's not because men here are superior to men there. It's just they have a lot more help because of the way the family group is arranged. Every family has a cousin living with them. Every family has, 3-4 people living with them. There's more help.
Yes.
In England, we are more smaller family units.
Yes.
It's my wife, myself, and my two boys.
Children,
If I do not want my wife to work herself to death, I've got to chip in.
Yes.
Our boys have to chip in too.
Yes.
As early as possible.
So it's a team.
It's a team effort.
Work as a team, yes.
It's team effort. So we've adapted. We're still, for instance, I'm Yoruba. That's my tribe. And my wife is. We are Yorubas in Manchester. We have taken our culture here and we have adapted it a bit to suit our life here.
That is wisdom, isn't it?
Wisdom is profitable to direct.
Absolutely.
If you do not apply wisdom to it,
yes,
the family will suffer.
Because a lot of families in the UK, of African descent, are suffering, are experiencing a lot of pain due to that lack of wisdom that you've just explained there.
That's the thing. You need to sit down as husband and wife and try to come to an arrangement that works for all of you. Now, it won't be the same in all families.
Yes.
I know of a family where the gentleman does not like to take, he only take stew and soup that are made fresh daily. And his wife loves cooking and can accommodate that. There's no way I can do that. If I tried that, I think my wife might have one or two things to say. But you know what? His wife can accommodate that.
Sure.
But guess what? There are things other men will not do that he would do for his wife. So they have their own arrangement. Whatever suits you, that works for both of you. As long as a family, I always say, as long as we're united and we're singing from the same hymn book and we're moving together, pulling in the same direction, things will work. It matters not which culture we have chosen to use more. But there's nothing so superior about any particular culture. It's just the response to your environment. If you have more money, I've tried convincing my wife not to cook, but she won't hear of it.
Where do you want to get the food from? Do you want to cook instead?
No, I do cook sometimes.
Okay,
but
good.
Not nearly as good as my wife. Or let me say, I'm not as patient as she is. So my consistency is not that good. But what I'm saying is, I really do not think it should matter that much that she cooks every meal. She works just like I work, just as hard as I work. And she's got extra work in that she teaches, she's the lesson tutor for my kids.
Boys, yes.
So she's good at that. She coaches them mathematics, English, and all that. So I just sometimes feel guilty after coming back from work, coaching the boys, and then she goes into the kitchen and cooks all evening. I just feel like it's a bit, and I'm like, sweetheart, we can buy the food. It makes no difference. Once we serve it, we don't know who cooked it. I don't care. But she won't hear of that. I'm just saying you can adapt. I've heard of a family that eats on disposable plates. The husband is happy, the wife is happy.
And that is
they
it.
just don't do dishes.
Life is what you make it, isn't it?
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yes.
So let's not try to be exactly. If I would love to live the way my grandfather lived. He was the Lord and Master, the Commander-in-Chief. Nobody dares hold. Okay, there were no remote controls back then, but you don't change the channel unless he says so. He would sit on that same spot and call for someone to come and change the channel of the TV that's right in front of him. And then he'll call you to bring the cup that's right. If you could stretch just a bit, he'll get the cup. But no, he'll send someone to get it for him. And I wish I could live that way, but it would be stupid of me to live like that in England. I'll lose my wife and my family very soon.
Absolutely. Yes, I think the kids will be the first to complain, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. So, there's a problem within the community. A problem of absentee fathers and uninvolved fathers. Now, I'd like you to shed light on the difference between the two and how that can impact on the family.
Okay, an absentee father is not there physically. He's not present. Some other fathers are physically present, but they are not present in the moment, in that they are not involved. They are just co-tenants with their wife and children.
Are they like figurehead fathers?
I wouldn't use that. I don't want to use that because I'm African and we're very sensitive to insults.
Okay.
And they will take it as an insult.
Okay.
If you call anybody a figurehead.
All right. Apologies if anybody's offended.
First thing I would like to say is you can take a man out of Africa, you can't take Africa out of him. We're very sensitive to words. So even if your husband is doing something you don't like, you want him to change, you still speak softly. There's a way you get a man to do things. You cannot address a black man the way you see your Caucasian friend address their husband. It's just not going to work. Because we're different. We're brought up differently. If you want your man to change, you want him to be more present, what you do is to talk to him. Don't argue. Just try to reason with him and more, show him what is to be gained by him being more present.
That's wisdom. So, some wisdom there, ladies.
Exactly. So rather than saying, have you seen what this man does? No, don't compare. No man likes to be compared to another man. Say things like, I know you are really trying, sweetheart. God will continue to bless you for me. You know you are much better than some other men out there. But you know what? I need you to help me. These children, they need you. You have wisdom that you can use that nobody else can use. I need you to use that wisdom. If I have someone wonderful like you, why would I let some people be their role model out there? I need you to teach them some things that only you can teach them. You're more likely to get him to work with you that way. Suppress your anger. No matter how you feel.
Pray for self-control if you need to.
Pray for it. And I tell you, talk to yourself. So in the morning, you wake up, your husband is not there, he's jumped out of bed, gone to work, face the mirror and talk to yourself and say, I'm patient. I can talk softly to my husband. And then when it comes, you remind yourself, I need to talk softly. There's something I read in a great book that says that sweet words can draw out gifts from the pocket.
True.
Just the same way harsh words can draw out the sword. So you can be right. You can mean the right thing, have the right intentions, and what you're saying might be true and right. But the manner in which you present it might defeat your argument. Or let me put it this way, a man usually is the kind of person who is happy to cut his own nose to spite his own face.
Wow.
So rather than let you win the argument or sound like you're correct or you're right, the man would rather go against you, even though he knows what you're saying is right. He will still, just so that you don't have the upper hand. No, I'm the head of this family. You cannot tell me what to do. So he would rather go against it, even though he knows what he's saying is wrong, but he will go against it. So if you were to pipe down and speak softly and cajole him, you're more likely to get his cooperation.
Wow. So Femi has taken us through some marriage counseling there. Some hints, ladies, for ladies whose husbands are not very involved. So we've got some wisdom there from Femi on how to get husbands more involved. But Femi, I want us to look at, I've watched how you interact with your boys. You're not the dad that will be on the phone or on the on social media and leave your kids. So can you tell us practically how you get involved with your children? Because sometimes what I notice from talking with certain parents, they don't even know how to interact with their children. They don't know what to do. Sometimes some parents say, okay, what am I going to tell my child? You say, talk to your child. What are we going to be talking about? So can you then share? Because I believe that we never stop learning.
Yes.
I love learning. I read books. I listen a lot to gain wisdom because I believe, we are learning every day. So please share, what exactly do you do with your boys?
Okay. It starts, we have to be deliberate about everything. It's about relationship.
Yes,
now,
that's crucial.
There's something I learned years ago. We still use it today. GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. You cannot take out what you have not put in. Relationship, you have to put sow into a relationship, time and effort in order to get something out of the relationship. The same way it works with the wife and the husband, it works with children and their parents.
That's right, yeah.
So, from when your child is young, you have to be their friend. Now, you can still be the parent. Some people tell me, oh, I don't want to be their friend because you have to lay the law down. No. A father, let me put it this way to you. There's this old African saying that is the same teeth the dog uses to lift the puppies that it uses to bite them. So you should be able to cuddle your children, hug them, and at the same time, the very next moment, change your voice and tell them, no, don't do that.
Yes.
And they can tell the difference once your voice changes. You don't need to go overboard.
Yes, and that is where I think a lot of parents struggle because they want to, it's two extremes. It's either they don't have a good relationship with the kids and the kids are reacting, to that, or they have too much of a relationship and then they don't know where to draw the line where they actually correct, and discipline.
The first problem is what we interpret as discipline or correction. We look at it from our upbringing in Africa where if you're correcting someone, you're shouting at them and you're talking at them and they are not meant to talk back. In fact, in my culture, when someone older than you is talking to you or correcting you, you don't look at their eyeballs, you look down.
Yes.
Because they consider it a sign of aggression that you're looking at me, you're looking at my face like that. Are you trying to fight with me or what? So we remember what I said about the culture. If you take the culture out of a place, that it then requires you to tweak it or it might not work as well. So the children in school have been taught, look at me when I'm talking to you.
Yes.
That's the way you show that you're honest and that you're listening to, that they're carrying you along. But where we come from as parents, we grew up being told you dare not stare, eyeball to eyeball with those who are older than you. It's a sign of disrespect. So the children have learnt that in school to look at the teachers face to face, and then they get home and you punish them for looking at your eyes. They are convoluted. They are convoluted, yes.
Yes, absolutely.
They're convoluted. So that's why you see these children living double lives. As soon as you see them in school or amongst their friends, they speak different, they behave different, and then they get home. And soon after, it leads to pretense. They begin to live a double life, and they begin to pretend to be what they're not. So the same children you see at home and in the neighborhood who would treat you respectfully, you see them in the city center and they ignore you and act like, I don't care who you are. And you're wondering, that's normally a very respectful child. But now, the parents are nowhere to be found and they change. It's because the parents have not taken their time to explain, okay, this is our culture. These are the things. You need to come to what matters in your culture. Yes. In my culture, respect is the key thing. You need to respect your elders. You need to show respect to everyone, even those who are younger than you. There are certain things we just don't do. So, out of respect. So, you find out that you can teach them respect, but within the context of where we live. So, the respect of a child of my son in the UK is different from the way a child of his age will show respect in Nigeria or in Cameroon or anywhere else. But as long as you pass across respect, that's what matters.
Yeah, so focus on
what matters, not the outward, manifestation of it,
or what people expect you to, or expect your children to do. Because a lot of parents are bothered about, how people will see my child and all of that kind of thing.
That matters to a lot of us Africans more than it matters that your child does not disgrace you in public than what your child really is.
Absolutely.
In fact, if it is possible that a child that is failing in school, if they can give him a fake result that makes him look like he's getting all A's, the parents won't mind.
Yes,
they won't be as angry. What really pains them is not that the child is failing, it's the fact that they are not able to respond to their friends.
Yes.
That, what is Joella doing now? You want to be able to boast and say, she just passed her exams and whatever. So
that is a whole topic on its own. Let's talk about how you are involved. What do you practically do? How do you, kids come back from school? Because we have situations where kids come back from school, they put them in front of the TV and mom is doing something else, dad is doing something else. So how do you actually, because you spoke about being intentional, so you've got to be intentional about it. You've got to plan, what am I going to do with these children? I go as far as thinking about what am I going to discuss with my girls on our journey to school, because it's a bit of a long journey to school. Fantastic. What are we going to talk about? So can you tell us how you as a dad, because in a lot of homes, it's all left to the mom to do.
Yes. My first rule that is important, my boys know, is they must give me a hug every morning.
Oh, that's sweet.
So they usually would get up, because I work late, so they would get up before me. I would be awake, but I'm still on my bed reading. So they would come to my room and hug me first thing in the morning, every morning, no matter, come rain, come shine. They were on holiday recently. Whenever they're going on holiday, and I'm not going to be there with them, I know it sounds silly, but they'll give me a hug for every morning and every night they're going to be awake. So they were away for 10 days with their grandparents when they had them last midterm recently, and I got 22 hugs from each one of them before they left.
One for the morning and one for the night.
Yes.
That's nice.
And when it's school time, I'll get a hug straight after school and a hug before they go to bed. Why did I make this a rule? I started it from when they were babies. I always hug them every day, before, first thing in the morning, last thing at night. I hug them every day. So by the time they became aware of what was going on, they were used to hugging me. Now, why? Certain things break barriers.
Yes.
Certain things take distance. Once the way of greeting you is very formal, it puts a gap.
True. Wow. That's powerful.
So the barrier is already broken when you're hugging me.
But a lot of African, we spoke about culture again. A lot of African parents struggle to hug their children and tell them, I love you. But what you said, it's so powerful. The hugging breaks that barrier.
Yes.
That, you get that comfort. Even when I've messed up.
Yes.
Even when I've failed,
It matters not. That rule breaks into many other things. One, it means there's never going to be a day that we have an argument that we're not going to forgive each other that same day.
Yes.
Because we're still going to hug before we go to bed. So we're going to find a way to settle whatever it is before night falls. Because we're still going to hug. I don't care how much I've told you of during the day, you're going to hug me before you go to bed.
Yes. And these family traditions, let me call it a tradition.
Oh yeah, it is.
These family traditions that are instilled in children from early on.
Yes.
When they become teenagers and they start to develop, find out who they are, discover who they are, and have their own sense of who they are, and start to relate with their friends. Yes. These family traditions, I have found it's worked for us. I have 3 girls. My first is 16, 13, and 8. And these traditions that we instill during the formative phase of the children is so key it goes into the child's mindset as being normal. So you have your teenager still hugging you, still telling them, I love you, mom.
Yes.
You tell your daughter, I love you. And that is so powerful, especially for the teenage phases.
A lot of people...
There is a breakdown in relationship.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
A lot of people tell me things like, especially for those who have daughters, please, the father is the first boyfriend of every girl.
You're going ahead there. That's one of the questions.
I'm
Anyway,
so sorry.
just go ahead and
it's
say
It's extremely important.
It is important.
I cannot emphasize that enough. See, if you are the first person to tell your daughter every day, I love you, you look so beautiful. And when you're present, you will compliment truly, not just throwing away compliments.
Yes.
If she does this new hairstyle that you feel does not suit her, you're silent about it. You don't say anything. But when she does something that suits her, you say, oh, this looks lovely. I like this one.
Yes.
She immediately gets it. And then sooner when she becomes, she's turning into a woman, and boys begin to notice her, and somebody says, oh, you look beautiful. That doesn't turn her head. She hears that every day. She's going to be able to tell the boy, you need to step up your game. I hear that every day.
And research shows that when fathers have a relationship with their daughters, they're less likely to get involved in teenage relationships. Because there's that security. I have my 16-year-old. My husband got into, because we're a very, very close-knit family. My husband talks to her 5 minutes every day. They sit down, have a one-to-one talk, very relaxed in the conservatory, and they're chatting. And my husband is away a lot. He's between America and here. And even when he's in America, they still have the quality 5 minutes. It's so, so important.
Extremely so.
Important. That way, you can be the number one influence in your child's life.
One of the most disappointing things I hear people say is, Wayne Rooney is a role model to my son. I always say, you've already failed.
Please,
failed. I'm sorry.
Don't go down
I have nothing against Wayne Rooney. I'm just using a very popular name. Whether it's Wayne Rooney or Will Smith or the Prime Minister or whatever.
Femi,
at a young age,
I'm going to invite you on another day, and we're going to talk about role models, because you are hitting something that is another topic on its own. So just finish, but please don't go into too much detail.
Let's leave that to the side.
Just tell us what you do with your boys.
Now, the first thing is, life is about relationship.
Yes.
And the blood that keeps relationship alive is conversation.
Yes.
Communication.
Yeah.
You've got to talk. It's just the same way. If you don't talk to your wife, you just think you're married. You're not. As soon as the children leave, she will leave you too.
That's right.
If she does not divorce you, she will leave under the excuse of she now has a grandchild. She wants to go and help them take care of the grandchild. And then she abandons you at home. And then grandma is traveling all around. And then you're stuck at home by yourself. So you better have a conversation with her now. Develop something. You need to have some things in common. So, for instance, I didn't grow up with video games. But because and I didn't buy one for my children. I just didn't see it. We're going home. They jump out of their uniform, have lunch. We have lunch together and we play on the Nintendo Wii. We race. I don't know how to play any other game on it, but we race. We keep scores. We have a leaderboard, who wins which week and all that. We're very competitive.
Yes.
My boys are competitive.
I think boys thing, isn't
Yes.
it? So basically, if you have boys, you know what you do with the boys. And if you have girls, you know what to do with the girls.
So we race, and guess what? I bought darts board. We throw darts. Why? That was a sneaky way of teaching them mathematics. If you want to teach your kids addition, subtraction, multiplication, put it into games. Play is the highest form of relationship.
Yes.
You can work with anybody, but the person you play with is the person you're closest to.
Fantastic. Oh, that is powerful. Let's say hello to Yinka, to Austin, to Sarah. Sarah asked the question here, what about the single parent? Okay, so what about a parent where a family where there is no father figure? Okay. Yes. So that is a whole topic on its own. So you become the father, the mother. Yes. You have to try and play both roles. But I do encourage single parents to look for a father within. It could be the church or the community, someone of integrity that you value, has high standards. And, you know, if they can play the role of the father in the lives of the children, that is going to be really, really important.
That's important. And now, I don't want to be bad phrase to be the devil's advocate. Nowadays, I'm quite careful who I leave my children with.
Yes.
Because nowadays, with all the things we hear, you have to be careful who you trust your child to, even though you're a single parent. But I find books are fantastic. You know, if you create a sense, you know, an imaginative mind in your child very early, books are good to do that. If you find books, there's almost nothing you want to teach a child that you cannot find a book that will teach them. And so it will entail you reading the books first.
Yes.
I always will read first or watch whatever my children will watch first.
Or even read with them.
Yes,
you know,
or read it to them or read it together.
As a family.
So if you cannot find a good role model around that they can spend enough time with, start with books. There are books that will teach different principles. So you read and you'll find that they will look up to even an imaginary man in a book. They will want to be like a particular man who does not even exist, but it will fire up their imagination.
Yes.
So we can make the most of whatever our circumstance happens to be. I know someone who raised two lovely kids, a boy and a girl, as a single mom in this very Manchester, and they are both wonderful kids. They are, you know, the young man is a lawyer, the lady is a banker now in the city. And she worked hard, but guess what? She always sat them down and she would have conversations.
That's it.
And she would tell them stories. She more or less substituted our own father, their grandfather, as a father for them. She would tell them stories about, you know, this is how my dad used to talk to me. This is what my dad would have said to this. And they looked up to their grandfather, even though he wasn't physically present.
Wow.
But children are susceptible to storytelling.
Yes.
I remember growing up, my grandfather taught me a lot of the things that has got to, he passed a lot of wisdom on to me, but he would just sit with me and we'll play this old African game and he would just tell me things and stories and they stay with you. So have conversations with the children, talk to them, reason with them. Children are a lot more intelligent than we give them credit for.
Yeah.
Talk to them, reason with them, show them the reason why this is bad and this is good.
Yes.
Don't just shout, don't do this.
Yes.
Because that's the sure way of making them think, why shouldn't I?
That's it. Because, I mean, we're raising up kids in an environment where they are taught to question things.
Yes.
And that is a sign of intelligence. That's a sign of critical thinking.
Yes.
And that helps them to stand for what they believe out there. So
True.
That approach is so crucial, helping them to own whatever it is we're telling them to do
Yes.
by helping them to understand.
And don't be afraid to tell them you don't know the answer to something.
Yes.
So they bring up a question, you don't know the answer. Oh, I don't know that, but you know what? Why don't you sit down? Let us do a bit of research. Do the research. Through that, you are able to show them that there will be loads of information. You need to learn to sift through fake news, wrong information, and help them to navigate all that, so that by the time in future they are getting on social media, they've learned how to do research.
Yes.
How to weed away things that are not, that something just doesn't sound right about this. Let me put it to the side. Let me corroborate. Let me find 2 or 3 weaknesses before I hold on to something to be true. So, but the best way to do it is through conversation. Conversation is the blood that keeps relationship going. Fantastic. And if you're used to that, your children will come back home. They won't just go to uni and run away.
Yes.
They will come back because they are truly your friend.
Yes.
When anything happens, they will ring you and ask your opinion. Because they're used to having you as a sounding board. Relationship is the key thing.
Yes. I always say rules without relationship leads to rebellion. Doesn't work. So relationship is key. Play with your children. Do things with them. You said we do housework together.
Yes.
We, There is something that I read in a parenting book once, that research shows that fathers who go fishing with their sons,
Yes.
That when fathers go fishing with their sons, the sons are less likely to get involved in antisocial behavior.
Definitely.
Because it's a period you're spending extensive time with your child. It doesn't have to be fishing if that's not your thing. It could just be going out to walk, maybe out in the...
Anything.
It could
play
be
tennis
playing.
together.
Yeah.
You... Whatever it is you do. See, what happens is boys and girls naturally should look up to their parents until the parent disappoints them over and over.
Yes.
And they learn not to look up to you anymore.
That is natural, isn't it?
It is natural.
It is natural. Even
that
when
they would look up to you initially,
Yes.
until you disappoint them repeatedly. And that's why we should be careful about telling lies to our children. There are things we think are white lies. No. They are not stupid. They are noticing. They might not have the level of intelligence to challenge you yet. But they notice that there's something not right. I remember the first time I knew my dad lied was he was on his way out.
To hear that.
Oh, don't worry, we've laughed about this over and over. We have a fantastic relationship now.
Yes.
But first time he was going out, I was very little, and I said, "Oh, I want ice cream." And he said, "Okay, I'll bring ice cream when I'm coming back." And he got back, and I said, "Where's my ice cream?" And he said, "Oh, the shop closed." I didn't say anything, but I never forgot, because I knew that wasn't true. But I just couldn't challenge him, so nothing happened. I think some years after, maybe a couple of years after, he said something, and it just came out from nowhere. I just said, "That's how daddy lies all the time." And of course, this was in Africa. Ooh, I got into big trouble. My mom, slapped my mouth and said, "You never say that." And I cried, and then my mom came to me later and said, "But why would you just say that?" And I said, "But he lied about ice cream. He lied about this." And I started recounting every time he said something that wasn't true.
Do they?
No. So my mom was shocked. And then she said, "You know what? We'll see." Apparently, she must have talked to my dad. And then he came to me and he apologized. I said, "You know what? I'm really sorry. I thought you wouldn't notice that. I forgot. And I didn't want to tell you that I forgot after I promised." So I thought it was going to be easier on both of us if I just lied and said, they closed. I didn't realize that you noticed. But that taught him a lesson not to lie to me again. So, but of course, African father, after that, he'll just tell me, "Okay, this is it." And if I say, "But," he'll say, "No, don't argue with me. That's the way it is." So, but the thing is, have conversations, but be honest with them.
Yes.
If you make a mistake, go back and tell them, "Wow, I'm sorry. I think I made a mistake there."
That's important. So you're being vulnerable and real to them.
Yes, you're real.
You're real to them.
They realize you can make a mistake.
Yeah.
So that helps them, that when they make a mistake, they don't hide their mistakes from you. They actually confess to you. Because hiding their mistakes gets them into more trouble. Usually. Because what happens is they make a mistake and then they go asking advice from their friends who don't know any better anyway. And then they get the wrong advice and they complicate the matter even further. But if they run home, as soon as they make a mistake and they tell you their mistake, then it makes matters a lot easier.
So, we've spoken about the dad's role in the female child's life. What is the role of the father in his son's life? Because when we look at what happened in London a couple of months back, the stabbings and all of that, I read somewhere that 3/4 of boys involved in these stabbings came from homes without fathers. So what is the role of the father in his son's life?
Remember I said, I said the father is the mirror. Now, it's scary actually, because your son, you can see him exhibiting your own proclivities. You can see him going to make the same mistakes you made. You can tell that he's like you and he has the same tendencies. So, first thing, don't be alarmed. First thing is, be his friend, so that and he knows you're there for him. That way, you can guide him in a very subtle manner. So there are certain things you will mitigate against ahead of time.
Yes.
So boys can get easily distracted. And I'm not even talking about when they notice girls now, even before then. Because boys are boisterous, very active, they have too much energy, sometimes for their own good. So you need to help to channel those energies. So you involve them in various activities until you notice which one they have natural affinity for or natural talent for. So, for instance, one of my boys we noticed he was a bit on the quiet side from a young age, and so we enrolled him in drama lessons. We can't shut him up now.
Yes, that's good. Absolutely.
That brought out the confidence.
That is being intentional.
Yes.
Paying attention.
Because he needed that. His
yes.
brother never been in drama school because he's never needed it. He's always been confident, self-assured person.
Yeah.
And because of that also, I made sure they did not stay in the same room. I separated them, put them in separate rooms. Because the older one, who is self-assured, his personality will suppress his brother's personality. They will end up always doing whatever the brother wants to do. He will never do his own thing. But as soon as I put them in separate rooms, I noticed that he has natural talent for music. He plays the piano, he reads music. I just can't understand how he could read music so easily and so early.
Yeah.
Without, before he took lessons or anything, he could easily pick up things. We can then see his own attributes coming up to the surface. But it takes the father to notice that, because you can tell, you can see that, oh, this boy is behaving exactly how I used to behave. So you can put some things to mitigate it.
Yes.
If you are the type of, because I have a very rich sense of imagination, I used to be in class and my mind is gone. I'm doing something else. I'm already in Paris, even though I've never been to France before. But in my mind, because I read a book, I'm already in Paris and I'm in class. I know my son is likely to have the same tendency. So I begin to mitigate against that.
Tell us what you did.
I have a conversation with his teacher to say, please, he might, just wander off in his mind. So every 10 minutes, if you look back and just call him by name, just say, are you with us? Or just ask him a question. Surprise him. So he learns to, and I also use other games we play at home to build his attention span.
Yes.
To force his mind to stay on the same thing. It doesn't always have to be with books. Like I said, we play darts.
Can you share some of the games? I know puzzle is a good one.
Puzzles are good. Darts is very good because when you throw the dart, you're aiming for a particular number, and you start from 350, and you deduct until you get the first person to get to 0 wins. So they need to learn to deduct.
So that's a bit of maths.
It's mathematics you're teaching them. You're teaching them focus, hand-eye coordination.
Yes.
And when we're playing, we're jesting, we're laughing at each other.
Yes.
That teaches them not to be too sensitive.
Yes.
Because other boys and girls out there in school will make fun of them. They've got to learn to have a bit of a thick skin to be able to take it and not react. Because why do boys get into fights? Somebody says something about you or your family you don't like, you punch them.
Yeah.
If at home we play games and when they lose, my wife will tell me, oh, why don't you let them win? I say, no. I always beat my children in every game until they can beat me.
It helps them develop resilience.
Yes, they need to learn that in life, you will get into competitions that sometimes other people have an advantage.
Sure.
And so you might not be able to win immediately. You need to persist.
Yes.
And keep at it and develop a thick skin, not to throw everything out just because you didn't win immediately.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you very much for sharing that. I really pray lots of fathers are picking this up. Please share the video. This is a big issue in the community. Share the video, share with fathers, within your network. Now I'm going to ask you this, Femi. In a lot of homes, fathers are very busy. They say they don't have time. You're saying we should relate to the kids. We don't have time to relate with the kids. We're very busy working and bringing all the money in. You are a very busy man. I know you for one. You have lots of businesses. You're all over the place. You are, so how do you manage to carve out time for your boys?
Okay. 2 things. Perspective matters a lot. perspective is the way you look at something or the angle from which you're looking at something. Mm-hmm. If you flip that question on its head and you say, can you afford not to have time for your children? Mm-hmm. And I put it this way to people.
I will say a lot of people can't afford because
none of us can afford
not
to spend time with our children. And I put it this way, if you look at it from the end before you come to the beginning.
Yes.
When your son joins a gang, has a tattoo of a knife on his neck, and the police are calling you to come and bail him from the police station, you will have time for 7 days prayer and fasting.
That's it, yeah.
And you will have time for counseling, and you have time to talk about him to everybody to say, I don't know what he wants anymore. I don't know why he's doing this to me. You have time then. So why don't you save yourself the pain and the time you will waste on counseling then, and carve out some time now? It's
that's
like
common sense, isn't it?
Yes, but common sense is not that common. See, it's the way you look at something.
Yes.
If you look at it from, if I do not give them a bit of time now, I will end up needing to give them a lot of time then. So let me give a bit of time now.
Yes.
Let me put it to you this way. My wife told me, you need to exercise. And I was like, oh, don't worry. You need to exercise, don't worry. And then a time came when the doctor told me, oh, you need to exercise. Then
you took it seriously.
I did not have a choice. I had to.
Yeah.
By the time they tell you, oh, your cholesterol, immediately you will carve out the time. When the doctor tells you, oh, if you continue at this rate, you might not live to see your son get married or your daughter, whatever, you immediately find time to cut down on what you're eating, to exercise and do everything. Why do you need to wait until they threaten you with death before you exercise? So don't wait until your son joins a gang.
Yes.
And he stabs someone and you're paying barristers to get him out of jail and all that before you do what you need to do. You're busy. One of the things I do, I take my children to work. It serves many purposes. So I'm involved in real estate. I take them, whenever I get a new house, even if my wife does not have the time, I will take my children there. They need to see what daddy does that brings home money. They need to understand money does not fall from trees.
Yes.
They need to understand how things are done. And two, I want them to learn. By the time they go to uni, I want them to already have a degree in every kind of business that I'm involved in. They need to know it like the back of their hand. So I carry them with me. When my workers are doing this, I give them little things to do. You carry the stools, you carry the table, you and your brother do this. I involve them. That way, I'm keeping an eye on them.
Getting them off the street, or maybe watching things
the
that
worst
you can
thing,
control.
and the first question I
TV.
always ask when I hear things like, oh, a boy was stabbed somewhere. I was like, oh, but he wasn't a member of a gang. He was just unfortunate. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time. But you always hear this happened at 11 p.m. or at 10 p.m. or what was he doing out of the home at that time? Is my first question. You should always know where your child is at every point in time. If you ask me at any time, I must know where my children are.
Yes.
I
shared an app on my Facebook page a couple of days back. It's called Family Locator app. Now, that is a good one. I mean, my first daughter introduced it to us last week. Said, Mom, let's all download this app on our phones to help us to know where we all are. You know, if I want to know where you are, I'll know where you are, and you know where, and we all know where we are.
It's your daughter that introduced it.
It was my daughter that introduced us to that application, you know. So
fantastic.
These are sort of things that, you know, parents can put in place to, it's unacceptable, because when these things happen, and I'm like, how can your child be in a gang and you don't know? There are lots of things going wrong there.
They shouldn't have friends you don't know. Not because you're, how do I put it now? Not because you're just trying to monitor them, but remember, relationship is what this is all about.
Yes.
You take interest in someone, you know everything about them. You know what they like to do, you know what they like to eat, you know where they like to go. You should know their friends, because their friends shouldn't be hanging out. Nobody should be hanging out around my house, getting my son to come out to play with them. They should come in, greet me, and ask, can so come out and play?
That's right, yes.
And I will know them, and then usually I would say, oh, so where do you live? Blah, 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 blah. I know where they are. And then I get to say, oh, don't worry, you're going home. Let me drop you. I use the opportunity to meet their parents.
That's right.
And if I don't like their home circumstance, I will tell my son, sorry, you can't hang out with this person anymore. So you need to know them, know who they're hanging out with, know the person's parents. So that if your son tells you, I'm hanging out at social person's house, the dad is my friend, I can pick up my phone and say, oh, are the boys with you? Are they behaving themselves? Good.
And sometimes even get them, because sometimes
let them come and play with you.
Come and play in their house as well. You see how your child relates with your friends. You see what they get involved in, and you get to know the mindset of the friends that.
Yeah, one thing that disturbs me a lot is when I see a bunch of young people loitering around shops and whatever. That does not help them. No. It can never get them to any good. If they are not in my house, they should be at their friend's house, who we know, and we know the parents. Not because we're just monitoring them, but if you tell me, and I'm sorry, this happens a lot in the black community, people complain, oh, the police treated my son badly. What was your son doing out there in the first place? The police did not come into his father or his mother's house to come and hit him on the head.
Yes.
Your son was loitering around. Number two, what was your son doing wearing all black with hoodie?
With hoods.
My son has a hoodie. My wife would never say, put it down. Let people see your face. Because if I see someone wearing a hooded top, covering them and all that, I cross the road.
I too. You feel threatened.
I
think this is really crucial, within the black community. We need to understand that our black boys wearing hoods, they are being judged. So we could say there should be stereotypes. Unfortunately, that is the society we live in.
But we all stereotype.
That's it.
If I see someone wearing a suit walking towards me in the evening, I don't cross the road, whether they are black, white, or green. I see them wearing a suit or a decent shirt, on jeans or whatever. I don't cross the road. They look decent. I see someone wearing black hooded top, black trainers, black whatever. You're wearing sports wear when you're not going to play football, you're not doing any sports, but you're always in tracksuit with your hand inside the tracksuit.
You cross the road.
I cross the road. And that's a full-grown man.
Yeah.
What do you expect someone who's not even black? They feel threatened. It's not their fault. The reason now, sorry to put it this way, animals, dogs or whatever, usually attack when they're afraid. Human beings are the same. Yeah. We usually attack first when we feel we're threatened, that before this person attacks me, I might as well quickly attack them. The police will not just attack you. Yes, we know there are racist people out there, but you need to even give the racist people an excuse.
Yes.
They don't just jump out and come and attack you just like that. So let's not give people excuse. And don't give me all that crap of, I'm just expressing myself. Whatever expression gives you the kind of haircut that makes you look like you're going to mug someone, you need to change that expression.
I'm going to invite you back, Femi. We're going to talk about that.
And the parents should stop that. Your son is leaving the house dressed like he's going to commit a crime. You need to stop them, pull them back and force them to dress properly.
You're moving on to our next question here because, when you see that, it shows the parents have lost control somehow. Now, when we have within the community children who are girls in the wrong group of friends, boys in gangs or hanging out with the wrong people, and some parents find themselves helpless, unfortunately. What do you think parents in this situation should do? You have your child completely out of control, you put boundaries, they break boundaries, they go out, come back whenever they want, hang out with people you don't approve of, boys hanging out with people you don't approve of, and completely, some parents or fathers feel helpless. What do you think these fathers should do?
Thanks for asking me that. That makes me shout at my TV a lot of times. First things first. We're very religious people and we think we should pray. Yes, we should pray. That's extremely important. But practical steps, move, relocate. Listen, if you simply relocate from one end of Manchester to the other end of Manchester, they need transportation to go and visit those friends. You've just broken communication with them. That's it. Just move. Just move as far as possible from where that gang operates. You will find out that move their school. Once you move house, you invariably have to move school.
Yeah.
And let them know. Remember, have that conversation that, listen, we're moving because of you. I do not like or approve of the people you're moving with. It is not good. It is dangerous. We're moving now because of you, because I don't want you communicating with them again. And then you don't buy them phones to communicate with their friends. What's your teenager doing with the latest iPhone? And you're wondering what they're doing online. You're putting them in danger and you're giving them too much power. They can ask for iPhone till they're blue in the face. They're not getting it.
Even if you give them phones, you need, I believe, put rules in place. In our home, we have rules. It's clearly said before they get a phone, there's a contract that they sign.
I like that.
That's a bit extreme, but
no, it's not extreme.
It works.
I like that.
I assure you it works. So what they can do, what they cannot do, how long they'll use the phone for, be it during the school day, weekends, or the holidays. They don't sleep with the phone in their bedrooms because of this and that and that. And so on. We have access. So if I don't know your password, then sorry, you can't own a phone. You know my password. You know Daddy's password. We are a transparent family. We know each other's passwords. So nobody locks their phone. So when they start to lock their phone, then you've broken the contract and the phone is removed from you. And when we give them a phone, we don't say it is your phone. Because
family property.
We said it's a family property. The computers, laptops are a family property. They don't belong to you. It means they can be taken from you if as a form of discipline. Yes. And I have found out that it works really, really powerfully. Fantastic. Working with parents within the community, I have a lot of parents ringing in, completely helpless. They can't even take their teenagers' phones because teenagers will fight them off.
Because they did not set boundaries early enough.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't set the boundaries early enough, then the child will... Nature abhors vacuum. Mm-hmm. If the parent does not occupy the position of authority, the children will occupy that position. And they will be the law in the house.
That's right, yeah.
So, it's never too late. If you're at the point where your children are a bit grown up, they're already acting out, there's still solution. Mm-hmm. It's a long-term thing. You can't just have one great conversation and they change.
Yes.
It doesn't work that way. Mm-hmm. It is little by little, step by step, you win the battle. Mm-hmm. You begin to reason with them. You begin to argue with them. You take the phone. First thing, don't buy them any expensive phone. In the first place, it puts them in danger. Mm-hmm. That's why they get bugged, or somebody steals the phone off them, or somebody attacks them because of their phone. Don't give them something so expensive that it puts them in danger. Mm-hmm. That's first thing. Two, you're not teaching them the value of money. Mm-hmm. A lot of children, a lot of families I see now, I can tell that, but for the help of God, the children will end up being poor. Why? The way they are being raised is without regard for money. Mm-hmm. The children don't realize the parents work hard for money. Mm-hmm. And it's not by you shouting at them that, don't you know how hard I work? No. You put practical steps in place.
Yeah.
Let them realize what the value of £1 is. Mm-hmm. So my son, for instance, would himself say, don't worry, can I get a phone that's maybe £50? And so we started from way back, buying pencils and eraser. I would take them to the shop with me. So I drove to Tesco and I showed them one pencil, one eraser, how much it sold. Then I took them to Asda, saw the same thing. Mm-hmm. Then I took them to B&M. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, for the price of one eraser and one pencil, in this B&M, I'm not advertising for anybody, we can buy pack of 3 with an eraser. So, this is better.
That is financial sense, isn't it?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So you're already teaching them about how to bargain, how to shop around, and the fact that money has value.
Yes.
So that they're not just thinking, I want the latest iPhone. I always wonder when...
And it brings up a mindset of entitlement. They feel entitled.
Yes, that entitlement.
I've seen
I want the latest trainers.
I've seen a lot of teenagers bullying their parents, basically, to buy them things. And I'm like, where did it start?
Because the parents never learned to say no on time. Mm-hmm. You need to learn to say no. Yes. Regularly. Just very regularly.
Don't be afraid. I say to parents, don't be afraid of getting your teenager angry. In life, we get angry. As adults, people step on us and we get angry, but we learn to get over it. So we've got to have those boundaries. And when they, step out of the boundaries, we enforce the consequences. There was once I took my daughter's phone for 1 month. Yes, I promise if this doesn't happen, this is a consequence, and I stood by it for 1 month. Her phone was taken off her.
Yes.
She wasn't happy to start it, but eventually we were fine. We carried on because we have a good relationship. It's absolutely fine. So we shouldn't, as parents, relent from correcting, from disciplining our children. So we've spoken about a lot there. Now, finally, we're kind of rounding up now. How is technology and social media, in your opinion, as a dad, impacting on the quality and quantity of family time at home?
It's affecting it seriously. A lot of people just dump their children from a very young age. Babies just dump them in front of their iPad and just play on repeat, Peppa Pig or something.
YouTube.
And just leave the child there. And that allows you to do other things. One, the child does not have attention span because what they're watching is in high definition. So reality pales in comparison to what they're watching. So they get bored so quickly. So every little thing you say, I'm bored. So to counter that, what I did to my boys, so we had this, sometimes you can have too many things for your own good. We have a screen that, they watch on the backrest of the car seat when we're traveling so that they can be watching something or doing something. When I realized, no, the attention span is not good, I took that off and we put it in the house. And whenever I'm taking them to school, we'll play games.
That's right, yeah.
So we start with, I bought them a map of the world, the globe. I put it in both their rooms. I was like, okay, try to learn the countries and the capitals. Whenever we're going to school, we start from A. How many countries can you name?
I pinched that idea.
Oh, good.
I pinched the idea.
Yeah. So we play the game until my second boy is actually the best at that now. He's crammed all the capitals or whatever, so he wins hands down. So we moved to food. Name foods. How many foods you can name? How many fruits? Animals. So
especially for young children.
Play games that will engage their mind.
Absolutely.
Initially it will stress you, but remember what I said about it's all about relationship. If you have, some people don't like their children really. You won't want to admit to the fact you don't like your children. Some people don't like their spouse, husband or wife. That's easier for you.
How do you know?
If you have 1 hour and you really just want to enjoy yourself, would you like to spend it with your children or with your spouse?
That's right.
Or would you rather hang out with your mates?
Or talk to people on the phone for an hour, or be chatting on Facebook or looking at pictures. So people spend
the people
more
you play
time with invisible virtual people out there than they actually do with their family.
People prefer time on Facebook, chatting to their old schoolmates that they've not seen in 20 years than to play with their own children in their own house.
Yes.
So I believe put quality time into invest in your relationship with your family, your spouse and your children. That will lead to quality conversations. If you're close to someone and you know each other and you enjoy each other's company, you will naturally talk. Yes. Talk flows with your person. When someone is a stranger to you, you stare at each other because you really don't know what to say. But when someone is your own, we say your personal person, it's a slang. But if you know someone very well, talk flows.
Yes.
You don't need to construe something. It will just flow naturally. You need to get to that point with your children. They know what you do. They are interested in your business. They are interested in make everything you do a family affair.
Yes.
Your business is a family thing. everything is communal.
Yeah.
So, like, I love that idea of the laptop belongs to everybody. I'm definitely going to steal that idea and use it at home.
We are learning all the time, aren't we?
I definitely learned at least 2 things I'm going to steal from you from today.
Yeah, so it's about being intentional, blocking off that time. For me, I don't pick up the phone from the time I come back home with my kids till when I've put my youngest to bed, because she needs that time. Yesterday we're playing balls in the garden when the weather is good. Yeah. We go out and do things, do whatever. You don't have to go pay to play out there. There's so much you can do just within the house.
There are parks.
Absolutely.
Go and play tennis, play badminton.
So block that time. And when you block the time, the children pick up the fact that you value them. Because for a child, love is synonymous with the time you spend. You could give a child anything. When I asked my youngest daughter what she values in our family, what are the things she values? None of my kids have ever mentioned gadgets or anything like that, or clothes. They mentioned the things, the activities we do together, the time we spend together. So we just want to encourage you. Thank you so much, Femi. Please, some final words for fathers. It's Father's Day on Sunday. It's a time to, we honor and we appreciate all the great fathers out there who are doing great things, those that are very involved, even those that are not involved. We appreciate them and we say, there's always a new beginning. Yes, we never give up because we've not done it. I'm not going to bother. No, there's always a beginning to everything. So what are your final words for fathers before we close?
Fathers, please, whatever the relationship you have with your wife or your partner or whoever, your significant other, your children are so important. They are so important that you must never let things... Your children should not be worse off than you are.
Yes.
The next generation must be better. You are the foundation on which they stand. We all stand on the shoulders of giants. I'm not here today because I'm the smartest guy. Mm-hmm. I am standing on the shoulders of those who sacrificed so that I could be better than my parents and my children can be better than me. Mm-hmm. So please, let us be selfless. You're not being stupid.
Yes.
We will take a lot of things and suffer a lot of insult for the sake of our children. Mm. It matters. It matters. Let us try and hold families together.
Yes.
If you're considering divorce or you want to break up, just think of the children. Because of the children, suffer this. Try to keep your family together. Spend time with the children.
Yes.
It matters more than anything else. Spend time with them, please. Time equals love.
Yes.
You cannot love someone you don't spend time with. Time equals love. If you just hold on to that alone, I'll be very glad. Time equals love.
Thank you very much, Femi. I really appreciate the wisdom you've shared with all of us here, both mothers and fathers. And I want to thank all our viewers. I haven't acknowledged everyone. Austin, Wumi, Yinka, Pasil, Sewa, Sarah, and everyone else who has joined us, and those who will be watching later on. Please leave comments, questions. If there are any topics you think you'd like to hear us talk about, please just type it down there. This is a man full of wisdom. I'm going to get him back again. There's so much that he has raised here, really topics that I'm very, very passionate about, because I believe that if the family is solid and we raise great children, it's going to have an impact on the society at large. It doesn't end at the family level. It impacts on the society. It impacts on the future outcomes for our children. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I've learned a lot today. God bless you too, Sarah, and God bless you all. And have a lovely end of the week, and happy Father's Day again to all wonderful fathers out there. We appreciate you as fathers. We appreciate the work you do in the lives of the kids, and we appreciate you as husbands. God bless you richly. Bye-bye.